So right now I've got a base plate for the head. I got the head cut out, carved. So as you can see, it doesn't fit in there. So what I needed to do is determine, I use a doweling system. I dowel all my heads onto my bodies for strength. So I need to figure out where this head's going to fit into this body. So I drew a center line down the head. And I got a center line on the body. Drew that, determined that prior to now. Then I drew a center line on my base. I guess it's not quite center line, but I drew a straight line in here. I use this little jig here. You got drill press at work, or I found this at a carving competition. It's been very nice for doing neck joints. So I got at least my little tool fit in there. So I drew a center line there.
How does that fit onto the wood? It just sets?
It sets here, and then it's got screws in. I'll screw it down.
Oh.
I'll show you. So I drew that line across there. Then I take my head, and I've got the front of the head on my center line there. Got my center line in the back here lined up, so it's centered on your decoy. Then I'll take a pencil, and I'll transfer this line that I drew on here straight across up onto the head. Straight like that. Then I come on the other side and do it there. So you end up with this little mark here. I don't know if you can see that on both sides. Then I just connect the dots. Now that right there should line up with that right there. Does that make sense? This intersection line up with that. Okay. So now I'll take this jig here. It's marked little red lines there, so you can center. So I just now line up all my little points, front, all four sides. Get my power tool out here.
So is the back end of your jig on the incline or not?
No.
So
it's on the flat part.
Helps.
Yeah.
Helps, right?
Yeah, you'll want it on the flat part of the your shelf here.
Yeah.
That way, when you drill your hole and you're going drill
And
it
if
in
your
straight
dowel
in.
comes through the bill, it's not a big deal, is it?
No. Just start over. Just got a 3/8 drill bit. Gets in the hole. Okay. So now the body hole is drilled. I'll do the same on the head. Line up all.
That's a neat little jig. Do you know who carries those?
I'll have to look and see. I'll look and see if I got one. Actually, new members from St. Cloud, Bob, Big Bob Hind. He came to my house for a class, and he saw the one I had. This is the one I bought. He took it back home with him, and he had a machinist make him one. So maybe I can talk to him about, I don't know if it'd be worth a while to have a bunch made up. At a cost, I'm sure.
Are they aluminum or steel?
I think it's pretty heavy. It's got to be steel.
It's like stainless.
And but Bob's guy put these red marks in it. You can't see from here, and I kind of can't see anymore either. I probably wore them off, but I had pencil marks drawn on here, like these red marks. And these red marks now you can see them, and they're etched in there. So it's easier to line them up with your your lines. So I'm just gonna drill a hole in there. Into my hand. Right on through. So it's a 3/8 inch hole, 3/8 inch dowel then. So I've got a longer dowel here to start with. So I'm just gonna position that in there and see kind of where I want it, the angle, how much of a turn I want. Excuse me. I think that looks pretty good there, so I'm just gonna mark this with a pencil. So you can see that. Now that's the outline of the head. Now that wood needs to be removed inside of there. It's easiest if you have a drill press. It's easier to do it on a drill press. Take a Forstner bit. On a drill press, you can set the depth, so you can set your depth at that point. Where this, I'm kind of going to be freehanding it. So my depth, I'm probably going to want to start closer here. The drill press too, it doesn't rock on you. Close, so I'll finish that up with the gouge here. Close I am. It's pretty close. So as you can see, when you're done with it, it just kind of fits in there.
And you had to do it the hard way without a drill press.
Yeah, drill press is a heck of a lot easier.
Yeah.
But,
They filled it with a hatchet.
yeah, I'm no Phil. So, any questions on that part of it?
Yeah, but he carves a apple with.
So, okay. So now the next thing with the body is, take a pencil and I'll draw this. Put these marks on here. That way when I carve on the body, I'm not carving into those lines because that's going to be part of my head. Okay, so I'll set that aside for now. So now I like to draw guidelines to my side pockets, top and sides. So I'll take this tracing paper, draw a center line on the block, line this up. So I'll line the sides up with my pattern. Then I'll just trace this on both sides. And I got the shoulder right here. So just extend a line there. Extend a line straight down. And that'll give me a starting point then to draw my side pocket on. So this part's a little more tricky. So you got a curved here, and this is flat. So the distance from here to here is going to be a little longer on your carving than it is drawing on here. So I always start at the bottom here. Make sure your bottom of your pattern line up at the bottom of your decoy. Bring this front part of the shoulder to that line. Trace this on. Like so, kind of get up to the high point here towards the back. And then I'll slide this, just slide it back a little bit. I can continue to draw it on. Doesn't take much, maybe 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, depending on the size of the duck. And then you kind of got your side pocket drawn on there. Then I'll do the same thing for the tail. Draw that on. And then the tail, as you can see from the back, it's kind of tented. So you can see how it's coming up. You got that tent. Tent is underneath this. So, and on the top, I'll draw in the front of the tail here in the rump. So that's kind of my guidelines now before I start taking wood off. So now, this is white cedar. So with white cedar, you want to work with the grain, whereas like tupelo and other woods, you can get away with working in any different direction. So to remove wood quickly, I'm going to use a draw knife. So I'm kind of carving down to that line on this here, carving to this line on top. The draw knife, that cedar just peels out real quick. Right here where the two come together, sometimes it wants to chip out on this. Just be a little careful there. Yeah.
You've gotten your vice fixed since the last time, too.
Yeah, I did. Okay. So now I'll do some gouge work. So I'll come in here and 90-degree, whoop, wrong way, 90-degree. So one curvature there, so when you round everything off, it'll flow, you won't have a hard, sharp line. Kind of get both sides to this point. So then I'm just going to kind of work on one side here. Get both sides to this point, then I'll run a pencil line down here like this. And then when you do both sides, you can go back and forth and look and see. You put that pencil line in there, you can get a visualize on higher on one side or lower on one side or out one way too far. This way you get it very proportionate. So I always work back and forth on both sides of the duck. So, but for tonight, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to kind of concentrate on this one side. So, yep.
Is it true that your wife, when you got your insurance all caught up, always wanted you to carve with a chisel towards your heart and towards your love?
Right. Yep.
That's what I thought.
Yep.
That's why she bought you a flak jacket for Christmas.
That's right. No, she got me dull knives.
Push harder.
Yeah, push harder. So now I'm just gonna, it's basically rounding off this body, so. Get to where you can see, but. So, rounding this off to the line. Carve yourself, lock your elbow and wrist. Part of the body's coming along. So now we'll kind of focus on the top here. knots, they can wreak havoc on your blades. So.
How do you deal with the knots, though? Do you drill them out? Or?
I drill them out and plug them with a dowel.
Yeah, I chipped and bent my draw knife on a red cedar knot.
Yeah. So it's kind of left out there. Matt, any questions so far?
So you're just roughing the curves into the top of the side pocket from the top to the.
Yeah.
Do you use a smaller chisel then when you start refining it?
Yeah.
Drill in that thing and throw in the water.
Yeah. So we'll get the tail here, the lump. And define that a little bit. Out here. So carving to this line on top, down to this. Just kind of round this off here.
Is it grain a little tricky on the tail?
Yeah, thing with cedar, it wants to chip out, so.
Yeah.
Down the rump. Start to come. On the underside of the tail, and the same thing, only in reverse. I'm drawing a little radius here to kind of tie in with the side, both sides. I'll draw this in here. Down. everything I do, I'll be jumping from side to side. So I'm not carving the whole decoy one side and going to the other, so I'll be jumping back and forth. Usually I take a little, excuse me, I take a little bit off I maybe draw like an eighth inch on the inside. So, and a lot of times I'll just use a knife to just get started. Throwing that off better than kind of blend the two. If you want a good steady floater, I'd leave the sides a little square. Then it won't rock like this. So that's why I don't take a lot off, but I take a little bit off it. It just looks a little more appealing. Rounding up the breast a little bit. Getting it rounded up the front. So, starting to take some shape. Separate that back side pocket here a little bit. So it's starting to take some shape. So now in here, you want to get that wood kind of out of here and blend it in. A lot of times I'll use power on that. And then down the center here, a lot of times I'll put a little, kind of draw on my primaries here, so secondaries of tertials, something like that. Some primaries there. A little. Little U-gouge here. Kind of on it. Still gonna leave this the high point here. Just round that off. It's another little technique then. I can kind of see from the back. You got the side pocket, which is rolling over tertial scapulars, and this is rolling in, and this side will roll down that way. And then you got your tent going with the tail. And from here too, you can see the roundness. So it doesn't take too long to rough out a little bufflehead. We want to do a little power carving around the.
Yeah, I want to see how you blend
Okay.
that in.
Okay. Here. So I've got a carbide cutter in here, kind of flame shape. So I'm gonna come in. One thing you want to do is, you got this part coming down as part of your shoulder. You don't want to really get rid of that. So you're coming off of it. pretty good idea. Look. So if you look at the pattern there, it's kind of gotten that drawn out here. So it kind of comes out, that's part of the head there, and this is where the neck comes together. So when you're painting it, this will be black and this will be your white. Kind of drop it in there. So you can kind of start to see how it's going to come together. Pass it around quick, or
Sure. He's a cutie.
questions, or
Do you hand sand that?
yeah.
From there?
Well, I'll probably do a little knife work cleaning up a little better, but then from there I'll sand it.
So this area here, how do you handle that?
Yeah, so so I'll probably, like what I got going on right there, I'll probably carry that along the shoulder here, but just subtle. Don't want to get too carried away. If you start getting too carried away, you end up with flat shoulders. Just very subtle and just roll it over.
So you just blend it down?
Yeah, blend it down. Dish this out a little bit back here. And behind. So you kind of got a little concave there. And then when I'm all said and done carving, ready to put the head on, I'll fill this with some filler and just carve it to blend it together.
Okay.
Any questions or want to see anything different or more?
What do you use for filler?
I use that Ives. It's a two-part. I think it's out of Wisconsin, River Falls. Ives, A-V-E-S.
Oh, Aves.
Aves.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's up there between Hudson and River Falls.
Falls, yeah.
Yeah, I've gone over there and bought from them, right from the factory.
Okay.
Made it there.
They have a store or a little store there?
Yep. And a taxidermy shop.
Oh, okay.
So
It's nice stuff. It doesn't dry fast. So it's, I use it with my eyes. I really like it with eyes. Yeah. Or for that, quick wood, even stuff you can buy at Home Depot or Menards, that quick
You
wood.
ever use epoxy skull?
That's
So that's Ives, yeah.
That's Ives?
Yeah, or Aves, Ives. Yeah, that's the same thing. I like that with the eyes. Setting eyes, it gives you a lot of time to use water with it,
Yeah.
and your finger, you can really blend it, smooth it. But the thing of it is, you gotta wait overnight before you want to work on it. But the nice part about it is, you can spend a lot of time on your eyes and not have to worry about crushing or being something setting up on you. Yeah, setting the head in like that, it's a nice look, just kind of challenging. But just one way I do it. This way you can turn the head. You could do it by cutting the head that way, but you almost need a straight on bird. Cut the pattern on to match your head, which is nothing wrong with that. So this way you can turn the head.
Did you see it, Frank?
We saw it.
Yep. Can you do some of that along the back or the shoulder there? A little,
Yeah.
couple minutes?
is there a point anatomically on the head that you should be using for pivoting and turning?
I think whatever looks natural. I think when you draw it on your pattern, you kind of have it established already. The side profile, so I'm pretty close to position. So a lot of times we'll line up the front of my head cutout with kind of the front of the shelf, or maybe just a back, just a tad, to give me some wood to work with. But I don't know if there's right or wrong. If you start turning it a lot, then you got things you got to worry about with what the spine, the breast is doing, how it's popping out, this and that. So if you want to do a sleeper and stuff like that, your pattern, you have to draw it as a sleeper, but the breast would be up higher like this, twisted, dipped down in the back, and you got a big lump ball on one side. So it's just things you need to think about in your pattern.
Yeah, and some ducks have longer necks.
Yeah,
Which makes a difference.
yeah. So we're just gonna come in here with a little gouge. Just very subtle. Just roll it over. That. Roll it over the other way. That. Just gonna take a little bit out of here. Does that help?
Yep.
I know it's pretty subtle, but
So you just fill the rest of that in then?
yeah. With a drill press, I can get really close. Or you could spend some time with a knife like this and cutting down, making stop cuts. Come in with a gouge it out if you want. You can get a tighter fit. On a working decoy, this is not too bad for a working decoy. If you're gonna do wood burning and all that stuff, then I would almost consider making a one-piece bird. Or spend a lot of time getting this to fit pretty tight. Otherwise, you'll have that transition wood fill to burning to texture to worry about.
The last bird I carved was a green teal. It was turned out pretty full, and it was really hard. I started doing a one piece, and
Yeah.
it just,
Yeah.
the problem was the grain of the mill wasn't right.
Yeah. If you use it as a working decoy, you probably don't want it.
No, but even
Yeah,
even as a decorative,
Yeah.
it was just,
Yeah. So you want to maybe have your head higher with more neck showing. If you want to get it turned more as a preening pose or something like that.
Yeah.
Probably a higher head turned, and then you got to work with the breast angles and stuff. Okay.
nicely
Nice.
done.
Thanks,
Well
Tom.
done.
Thank you.